It's indeed a beautiful Tuesday morning, and it's Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, and of course, a Happy New Year in advance. I am Nifemi Oguntoye, standing in for Yuri Folari. It's indeed a beautiful day. Of course, they say this is the most beautiful and perhaps the most important part of the year, and I hope really that you're going to make the best use of it. Reaching out, of course, to the poor. Do not forget that there are people mourning at this time. Just over the weekend, it's somewhere in Zamfara, certain people were attacked, and of course, there are many who are suffering from one disaster or the other. In Abule Egba, for instance, we shared a story with you of a man who lost quite a number of cars. He's a car dealer to that particular inferno. So look around you. There are people who can afford a 3-square meal. I'm hoping really that I'm counting on you that you will reach out to the poorest of the poor this Christmas. Now let's turn our attention to Mr. President's Christmas speech, and everyone is talking about it. I just saw a video on Twitter just before now of Mr. President, the Vice President, and of course the APC chairman singing a Christmas song. And of course, Twitter is on fire right now. Many people are saying that, of course, we've read his speech, but perhaps it's the first time we'll be seeing the president singing a Christmas song. I'm joined by a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly representing Ekpe Constituency 1, Honorable Constituency 2, I beg your pardon, Honorable Segun Olulade. Merry Christmas and thank you for joining us.
I wish you all the same. Merry Christmas to all our viewers. My name is Segun Olulade.
Olulade, yeah, thank you very much for finding time to come. I can see you're rocking the Christmas cap.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're done with this program, is there a party somewhere?
Definitely, it's not about the party. It's about sharing. It's about giving. It's about forgiveness. It's about showing love to someone.
And I'm
it's
hoping
about
that,
being kind to somebody. It's about even forgiving someone. It's about making that call, that necessary call. It's about putting food.
That's right.
On the table of some people
who cannot afford
it.
And I'm hoping that everyone can, take this moment out to really reach out, like you've said. Just like Mr. President pointed out in the speech, he's saying that this season indeed is another opportunity to reflect on the lessons, from Christ. He made mention of hope, compassion, salvation, reconciliation, forgiveness, and peace. Now, would you say that indeed, as religious as we are in this part of the world, have we been able to really capture the essence, of this Christmas, of this festival?
I wouldn't say so for now. I think we still have a lot to imbibe with the spirit of Christmas. And I think what we see many people do at this period was to keep buying things that they do not even need. Is for them to keep those things that they ought to have been given. I think this is the time for us to even go to our wardrobes and see how many of those clothes needs to be give space. And we also need to put smile on somebody's face. That's the essence of Christmas. That's the essence of having, like the normal saying that the reason for the season is you. It's about the people. It's about reaching out to everybody. It's about sharing. It's about coming together in unity and love. Like Mr. President have said, let's maintain peace in this country. Let's continue to work as one entity, as a nation, and let us be patriotic enough to be able to love somebody and share with others.
So according to Mr. President, 2018 has been the year of mixed blessings for the country. On the pleasant side, he's saying that the economy has made significant progress since coming out of recession, and that indeed there's a faithful implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. You're a lawmaker in Lagos, and you perhaps must have felt the pulse of your people. Would you say that this Christmas is better than the previous one when it comes to how much money the average Lagosian has in his or her pocket and how much financial freedom they have to purchase, stuffs this Christmas?
Well, at times you don't base your yardstick on the economic sustainability of individuals, on the financial or the account balance at times. There are so many things that money can't buy that Lagosians are happy with today. In Lagos, we have security of lives and property, which is very, very key. In Lagos, people can walk out to several parks and celebrate Christmas. In Lagos, the money is available, but except if you want to do beyond your reach. If the little you could afford, if you can be contented with it and celebrate in that level, I think we have every reason to celebrate in Lagos. We've seen tremendous development. We see tremendous economic. When you look at, in Lagos, for instance, when you see good roads, that means those vehicles will not visit the mechanic village as regular as they were. That means you have more money in your pocket. When things are working, when you don't need to go and get a security person to be following you around, that means there's security of lives for everybody. And that is what Lagos is doing.
I'm hoping that what you're saying really resonates with the core of the people, because there are people who would say to you as well that things hasn't been rosy as the picture you're painting. The fact that there are people out there who still cannot afford as much peace, even within Lagos, who cannot afford as much, security, afford good roads. There are still bad sports in this part of Lagos.
Definitely,
there are people whose cars often visit the mechanics, like you mentioned earlier. But the challenge is, how do we really put figures to be sure the majority of the people, are really enjoying the dividends that you've painted earlier?
Yeah, majority of Lagosians, for instance, to be specific now, is we are happy with the government of the day.
Okay.
We are happy in terms of healthcare, in terms of transportation, in terms of regular payment of salary to the public servants, in terms of infrastructural development and renewal in Lagos. That we cannot say that everybody would, because even our fingers are not equal, we can't say everybody will just be contented with what we have in Lagos, but is a big shift, because what we're seeing today, like I told you about, even the issue of security alone is something for us to be happy with ourselves. We have so many people who could not even sleep in their houses, even as we celebrate Christmas today around the world. But today in Lagos in particular, we can't sleep and sleep soundly because we know some people are working for us.
Unfortunately, we can't say, the same of certain people in Zamfara State who,
that's why I said,
lost their lives and property
in
the course of the weekend. But the president made mention of agricultural revolution, the fact that infrastructural deficit is also greatly reduced. They're not relenting on fighting corruption. But on the downside, what he called unnecessary deaths caused by violent clashes between neighbors who ordinarily should complement and support one another. There are some who are saying that is putting it lightly, that the bulk of the insecurity we've witnessed, earlier in the year is a big shift from just communal clashes. There is, the phenomenon that has evolved into armed banditry. There is insurgency in the northeast. There is kidnapping in the south. I mean, there just seems to be too many challenges when it comes to security this year.
Yeah, everything we are talking about the death is still unnecessary, because we see that we have a lot of people being killed for just no cause.
That's right.
No meaningful cause. And that is one reason that we should all know that the issue of security is key in any developing country like ours. And I believe that Nigerians will see it beyond a particular government or beyond ethnicity, beyond religion, and see it as our collective responsibility to ensure that we have the security of lives and property, and cooperate with the government of the day, provide necessary informations, make let's come together and see that fellow just like the spirit of Christmas is trying to preach.
It's all right.
That let's say that fellow, that your neighbor, as your own blood.
Let me just
as
hold
your
you
own
for
brother.
a bit to take this call from Ogun State. Merry Christmas, Joshua.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Nifemi. How are you? And Merry Christmas to your guest.
Merry Christmas, sir.
This Christ is the reason and the joy that we all have the gift of life from God. So, the blessed day. I want to say about maybe looking at today and the days after, that gratitude is a very great currency. So much has happened, we know, and people can say things are not really okay as they should be. But I think we have a lot of things to be grateful for, and that's my focus. We have lots of things to be grateful for. Lagos agrees. I mean, I drove through Ibadan Express, and it wasn't like 2-3 years ago. The road is being fixed. So I look at infrastructure, urban renewal, and I think it's part of the sacrifice we are making, because religion tends to give us this idea that once you just wake up, everything becomes light. I think there's a gestation period for things to be fixed. Maybe we should look at it that we are making the sacrifice to do the things we ought to have done before. And if we do them now, then we'll get it right later. And who says we cannot enjoy better later? So I think we should be grateful, and I appreciate God for today, and I greet you and the entire nation.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
It's good to hear from you, Joshua. Thank you for your contribution. So we're looking at the downside. Mr. President talked about unnecessary debt, lives lost to flood, unfortunate fire disasters, road accidents, there's the farmer-herders clash, insurgency and all of that. What precisely is the role of government in all of these? The opposition is saying this is an indictment on the incumbent. The fact that the primary responsibility of government should be the welfare and security of the people. So why say unnecessary death when that is your number one job?
Well, it's unfortunate that I don't know those who you are considering to be an opposition in Nigeria as it is now. Are they those people who were there for 16 years that Nigeria cannot point to one thing? No single road was completed during their period as government. Today,
You say no single road.
No single road was completed.
I hope that we won't fact check that and
Please
find out that
fact
is
check
not
it.
correct.
Please fact check it.
I'm
No
completely
single
correct.
road in the entire 16 years of PDP rule in Nigeria was completed.
At the federal level?
At the federal level.
Okay.
So when you look at that, and somebody is now complaining that what's the purpose of having governance, as if it wasn't in their era that we have what we call Boko Haram today, that we know how many lives we lost as of then. So, but today we can see that those killings, though they should be considered as unnecessary, but like I said, we are moving forward. We're moving forward from where we were, at the last time. And today, we can see meaningful improvement in our country today. So when you talk about the issue of security, we cannot say we have arrived. All over the world, security matter is not something that somebody could say, or any government will say we have secured. Even in America, even in UK, they still have security challenges. So if we have challenges and we have what it takes, at least somebody is not stealing the money to go and using it for election. Somebody is using whatever money we have to go and purchase equipment for these people for the security operatives to work with. So we can see that this is a government that mean well for this country.
So I'm just going to quote a portion of Mr. President's Christmas Day speech. Our brave armed forces and other security men and women who make incredible sacrifices to keep us safe. The aged, the sick, physically challenged persons all deserve our goodwill in this season of love and sharing, end quote. I'm concerned about the kind of relationship that currently exists between Nigerians, the Nigerian public, and our military forces. Would you say it is cordial? Would you say that, for instance, we're counting down to the Armed Forces Remembrance Day? Would you say that the public truly understand the sacrifices made by these gentlemen, and are they being accorded, the deserved respect?
We have not reached that level. And I think that's one thing that Mr. President is trying to point out. And that's my president. That's the kind of president we want, that would direct and lead others to the right path. And what is he trying to say? He's trying to let us understand that there are some people making sacrifices for us, even while you are sleeping and while you are enjoying with your family. You should always remember their home family, that they also left family at home to go and be protecting you.
Apparently. So, I'm just going to hold you for a bit to take Yakub's call from Dopemo. Merry Christmas, Yakub.
Yeah, same to you, Nifemi. And then, Honorable Olulade, good morning, sir. Merry Christmas, sir.
Wish you same, sir.
Yeah, let me begin by saying this. Kudos to Mr. President for that Xmas message. For the fact that he even sing the Xmas song, I give a kudos to him. You see, Honorable Olulade mentioned one very, very important thing there in that studio now, just now. If someone can just tell you, Nifemi, that you should point one particular infrastructure that some people that will consider as a opposition today start and finish for the past 16 years. You can even Google it. If you Google it, you find out that none. But they always started work and then abandoned it. In fact, sometimes they will project something like money to that very particular project, and then the money will be siphoned. Now that Mr. President called him, he started finishing all those jobs, and then they are still complaining that it was not started by him. Why is he finishing? What do we really need in this country? Let me tell you, people that want to say that Islamize this country, it's a big message to them now. That Mr. President is for all Nigeria. You cannot even try to Islamize this country. If Mr. President can song Xmas song, what are you now telling us? So it's a message. If you want to say that, okay, they want to Islamize this country and whatever, it can never happen. Kudos to him. Merry Christmas to all of us.
Thank you very much, Yakub, for your contribution. Different stroke for different folk.
When you look at, I just want to support what Mr. Yakub just said now. Sincerely speaking, I feel happy with myself. I feel like a Nigerian seeing my president singing the Christmas song.
That's what I'm saying, that on one hand, it's been lauded. But when you also have a broader perspective of things, there are people who are saying that that song is coming in a pre-election year. And that's also a valid point for many reactions across the country. But let's very quickly touch on...
have to start from somewhere.
Well, maybe. But let's touch on the armed forces that we mentioned earlier and the kind of relationship that exists between them and the public. Isn't this perhaps a fallout of what people perceive to be the kind of approach that we've seen the army, employ in instilling peace in all of their operations? Amnesty International just released a very damning report on the operations, especially in northern Nigeria, infringing on the human rights of people, allegations of supporting even, armed banditry and all of that. Would you say that this is a reflection of what we see today, such that there doesn't seem to be much respect on the part of the people for the military?
Well, I just want us to be a bit cautious about what we see on social medias and all sort of things, and the videos that are being released left and right. I know that there are some bad eggs in the military, but it is high time we continue to honor them. It's high time we continue to celebrate those men who have been doing so greatly for this country, to bring everybody together in unity and protect us as a people. And in advanced country, when you see a military man, there's a
respect that is accorded to him.
Thank you. So they are not getting that here. Even prior to this period, when a military man died, that's the end for his family.
Let me hold you very quickly to take this call from Oshogbo. Good morning, Comrade Dio.
Good morning to you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance.
Merry Christmas to you too.
If you ask me, I will say, are we making progress? I will say yes. Have we gotten to where we ought to be? No. But are we taking a step? Definitely yes. See, this government is moving in the right direction. Yes, there are a lot of sacrifices to be made, no doubt about it. But we are making progress. I listened to the Minister of Works, Power and Transport announcing the other time. I saw what they have been able to achieve in this last 3 years. It is a significant progress. Honestly, I won't deceive you. See, Mr. President has proved to us that, yes, we have a country we all call our own, and we must make sacrifices if we want development. In advanced world, they got to where they are today because they made a lot of sacrifices. So we ought to do that here too. And I believe Nigerians know what is better for us and will know what is good for us. Come 2019, next level is our portion in Jesus' name.
Amen.
God bless Nigeria.
Amen.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution, Comrade Dio. I don't know what you mean by next level, but I hope that you're not campaigning for anyone on this platform. But let's...
No, it's next level. Just next level.
Just next level.
Yeah.
It's all right. Let's quickly touch on some other areas where Mr. President highlighted during his Christmas speech. And he's made a commitment about the forthcoming election, a quite interesting one. My avowed commitment to free and fair, credible and violence-free polls is not a ruse or yet another vain political promise. My word is my bond. Do you expect this to douse the tension aftermath the withdrawal of the Amendment Act bill?
I didn't even understand why there will be any tension in terms of providing free and fair election as been promised by this government, by Mr. President. I would say that he has demonstrated that in several areas. And you will know that he's a man of his word. So for me, I am confident that Nigerians should just get their PVC ready and go to the poll and vote for the next level.
All right. Williams is calling in from Abuja. Merry Christmas to you, Williams.
Merry Christmas. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Merry Christmas to Honorable Sheikh Olulade, your guest today.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas to everyone on TVC. I just want us to imbibe the spirit of Christ. Christ came. He paid the ultimate sacrifice. He died for our sins, and he resurrected. So I just want us as Nigerians to also imbibe sacrifice, make sacrifice for this country. Wherever we are, whatever position we occupy, even as private citizens, we should endeavor to play our part. Because it's appeared that all we seem to do is talk about government. But the responsibility of nation building, it's actually not just in the leader's hand. The citizens, we also have a role to play. So as Nigerians, we should all come together, put our hands on the table, and work together for the prosperity of this country. That's my take, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Williams, for your contribution. And he's talking about the role that the average Nigerian has to play.
I think to buttress his point, we tend to always talk about the leaders, why they follow us, but the greatest office, and that's why I am in support of what Mr. President has said this morning concerning his commitment to
a free and fair
election. Because the greatest office that anybody could occupy is the office of the citizenry, and that is what we are not making use of in this country. And that is why we will continue to put confidence in the heart, in the mind of Nigerians to ensure that they go out and vote during the elections and ensure that their vote counts, because their votes will definitely count.
Mr. President himself was a victim of electoral fraud. He contested about 3 or 4 times before winning this election. So we expect a lot from him.
I said so many things about that, that he was cheated before, and he wouldn't want anybody to cheat anybody. Why he's the president? So
We have a call now from Joseph Bida. He's calling in from Niger State. Merry Christmas, Joseph.
Joshua B. from Bida, Niger State.
All
Good
right.
morning, the uncle, and good morning to the honorable.
good morning,
morning.
sir.
Joshua from Bida, Niger State.
All right, we'll correct that. Please go
We
ahead.
want to reiterate, we appreciate the president, and we appreciate this very present government. But, this season of love, this season of celebration, this season of sacrifice, I will employ the government to, if possible, make their own sacrifice from their own part. And let the academic, both ASU, make their own sacrifice. Let them come to a concrete resolution of this very crisis that is happening within our educational system. If they have to make any sacrifice, let them make the sacrifice because of the young ones that are at home. This is election time, and these children are willing to, even to the political class in this very nation. Let them come to a concrete resolution of all these incessant strikes, and let this very strike of situation come to an end in due course. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for your
I
contribution.
would like to support Mr. Joshua on that because, sincerely speaking, we just have to sacrifice. The two camps must be ready to ensure that normalcy return back to our schools. And if there's going to be any sacrifice from both parties, they should ensure, and they should not always introduce politics when we are talking about education, security, and so many things like that.
But when it comes to the issue of ASU and ASUP, it's pretty much of a situation where both parties at a point in time had agreed. There was an agreement in 2009. There was a memorandum of understanding and action in 2017. It appears the government at some point had sanctioned certain agreements, and it's just a matter of fulfilling or implementing them. Would you say sacrificing on the part of the unions, wouldn't they be asking for too much? It will be compromising an already established agreement.
No, nothing will be too much for us to do at this particular period. We just have to sacrifice, we just have to allow things and compromise if need be to ensure that normalcy returns to schools. Because like he said, if we allow those students to be out, and there is a saying that says, an idle hand is devil's workshop.
Especially in an election year.
Especially in an election. So we should just, there's always be a give and take in this period. Let's be patriotic enough to say, okay, and let government also try to always honor their agreement, whatever agreement they have with any union, not only the ASU and ASUP, but any union at all, because it's been happening over the years, and it's things that we just need to correct this time around.
Honorable Segun Olulade is a member, Lagos State House of Assembly, representing Ekpe Constituency 2. Merry Christmas, and thank you for joining us on the show.
Merry Christmas. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we return, I'll be joined by a presidential candidate in the much talked about 2019 general election. Stay with us. It's Christmas Day, but some of us are at work talking politics. And now that's very important because the 2019 general election is just around the corner. And I'm joined by the Providence People's Congress presidential candidate, Victor Ohai. Good morning and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
I'm glad to have you come.
Thank you.
So a writer described you as a polyglot, someone with a rare capacity to understand and speak different languages. You speak Edo, Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and 3 major international languages of the world, English, French, and German. That's interesting. I wish I could ask you to confirm that you indeed can speak all of that.
Well.
but help me understand how relevant this is. Because here, they say you're bringing to the presidential bargain the working wonders of creative language communication as a solution to the fractured tongue of the Nigerian nation. So I want to understand how the understanding of language can help to unite a nation, or help in leadership, especially in the area of presidency.
Okay, now let me just take you through something I learned when I was, if you like, learning languages. I'll use German as an example, or even French. In class, beyond the language, an essential staple in the course is usually the culture and tradition of the people.
Of the people, okay.
And so, if it's a French, for instance, you've got to be able to understand the French and their way of life. And so, that way helps you understand the people. Now, locally here, when a typical southerner, or let me say somewhere from the southwest, sees somewhere from the north, it's either Malam, or from the south, it's Omoibu, okay? For a person who has lived in those parts and understands them, they would not address them like that, because beyond Omoibu and Malam, there is so much more, because then you have an understanding. If you have heard white people who speak Pidgin English, you would notice that they speak it with all the nuances, you know, all the mannerisms and all that. They have an understanding of the people. And so when you're dealing with people, because you know the people and the culture, you can understand where they're coming from. You can empathize, you can understand why they do the things that they're doing and why. If you sit down here, for instance, and you want to address the issues in the core north and you don't understand the tradition, you use your limited perspective, obviously you're going to take wrong decisions because you don't understand what makes them act the way that they do.
I see.
And so that's the thing that goes with understanding a language and a people.
So you have a rich cross-cultural background.
Yes.
A Nigerian from Edo, born in Jos, northern Nigeria, by an Igbo mother, and a work life at Yoruba land. How has that helped you to understand Nigeria as a nation?
Oh, very much so. How do I put it? I often would joke and say, you know, when I speak with party colleagues and all that, I said, not just that, when I talk to people, I said, there's no way I can throw a stone up that it will not hit me one way or another. The Plateau issue, for instance, I understand better than most people. And the advantage I have in dealing with, let's say, the Middle Belt crisis is that I can also be removed from it. I'm in it, but I can be removed from it, which means I can deal with it without the emotions of an indigene, but with the understanding, having grown up there and having understood, you know, the goings on, because I can see from both perspectives, from the core north perspective, from the Middle Belt perspective, for instance. I can understand when IPOB is agitating, not necessarily the method that they're using, but I can understand how the average Igbo man feels because of perhaps the perceived injustice over the years. Like I would often say to people, the Igbo man is not asking for too much. He's not even asking to be president or for any power. All he wants is just a sense of equity and justice. He wants to be able to do his business in Kaura Namoda, in Oshogbo, Ogbomosho, or wherever, without being preyed upon, without being victimized, or without being discriminated. That's all he wants. But you've got to know to understand that. Otherwise you think, oh, these people just want power and all of that. So all of this, you know, and how do I put it? There's something interesting as well. I have a title from the Kano Emirate, from Kano, okay? May Nasara Ajingi.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
May Nasara is like the victorious one. So you can say it's prophetic, sort of. You understand?
And you're hoping that will count in the 2019
I'm not hoping. I know it will.
All right. So let's talk about the essence of being a detribalized Nigeria.
Yes.
Because much of our challenges, many will say, are deeply still rooted in, you know, sharp divisions along ethnic and religious lines.
Yes.
Would you say really that what we need is equality? I spoke with one of your colleagues who's also running for presidency, who mentioned equality, the need to give equal chances to everyone. But there are some who would say that what we need is equity, the fact that it's just about providing what everybody needs, because in the real sense, all of us might not be equal. What are your thoughts along this line?
What you say is a bit contradictory. You talk about equity, you talk about equal chance. Equity is equal chance, in a sense. A sense of equity and give it a fair chance to everyone. How did we come to life? There was a race of sperms. Everyone had equal chance. But for you to have been alive, you were the one that hit the egg and stayed. You understand what I'm saying? Life has been like that. Everyone gets, what should happen, give everyone a fair chance. I use the word fair chance, no special privileges and advantages. What it does is, it makes people work harder. Because you see, if I know that I'm going to be given an unfair advantage, either because of where I come from, or because I'm perceived to be educationally disadvantaged and therefore I must be propped up, then the motivation to work harder is not there because already I'm steps ahead. Now we've got to be able to take that away. Nigeria of the 21st century is not the Nigeria of the 20th century. If we continue this way, we'll remain backward. And that's why human capital development is critical and very important to me and to PPC, for instance, as a party. We feel that if you educate everyone, like what is happening in the North, sometimes I feel pain in my heart when I see the Almajiris and I see so many uneducated people. If these minds were liberated, and believe me, some of the best brains, when I say best brains, you see the average Hausa-man that is educated. Forget about the tongue, because you see, if you grew up in a village as a Yoruba man, for instance, your speech, the affectation is not your fault. It doesn't take away. You can be a mathematical genius. You understand what I'm saying? English is not your mother tongue, after all. So, and we don't necessarily speak English like the Queen, but we speak English and we're understood. So take that away. Believe me, some of the brightest minds. Jibril Aminu, for instance, went to University of Ibadan. Medical student, came out tops. I give you so many examples, first-class students. So we need to give fair chance and stop propping. Let these people try and come out with the best, And that's why the issue of universal basic primary education is so important. But beyond that, secondary education as well. But at that level, you also need to create the double path of skills. We're paying so much lip service to the issue of transferring skills to people at that level. We've got to be able to make sure that we implement it so that if you don't go along the academic line, you can go along the professional line. That's a system in Germany, for instance, where you have master craftsmen who rise to the very top, where they are recognized at par with PhD holders. When you become a master craftsman along the crafts line, you are given equal recognition. You have chosen to go. It's like having an MSc or MA and an MBA, an MSc and an MBA, for instance. The one is professional, the other is academic.
Okay, so
no less.
Your concept of equity is also given equal opportunities in the area of skill acquisition and education, all of that. But
no, not just that, even in at work, just generally.
I get it precisely, but what is the role of the federal principal character, in achieving all of this? Do you subscribe to it as one of the ways of instilling equity in this part of the world?
I think, well, maybe the thinking at the time may have been right, but it's been abused. Why do I say so? The idea behind federal character is also probably to fight against nepotism and tribalism, because a man can get in there and insist, okay, like, I don't want to get into such arguments now, but the president, for instance, has justified his appointing people from a section, and people will say, oh no, he wants to work with only those he can trust and all of that. And so the idea behind it was to say, okay, you cannot say that you cannot find one good person in every part of Nigeria, which is fair enough. I don't have a problem with that, okay? So to that extent, it is okay. But in terms of using that for promotions, I don't see that as, along professional lines, I don't think it is fair. If you want to do that for recruitment so that there is fairness, then again, maybe only a certain quota should be allocated, but merit must also have its place. Otherwise, mediocrity will be what will be promoting and celebrating as a people.
Mr. Victor Hai, why do you want to become Nigeria's president? I mean, could be useful in the Ministry of Communications or in all the relevant ministry. Why the top job? Why the first office? Why gun for Mr. President's job in the first place?
if you want a job done, the best person to do it is yourself. Okay? Am I happy with the way Nigeria is? Obviously not. Do I like the way it's being run? Obviously not. Plus, I'm a child of destiny. In the year 1966, there was a major disruption in this country. Democracy was truncated. The military took over. And those that took over have remained in power, both in uniform and out of uniform. The aberration we have in our system started from that time. Now, it will take a child of 66 to sack the class of 66. That is what I represent.
How old are you now?
I don't have to tell, I've just told you.
Okay. All right. So let us take a commercial break now. When we return, the phone lines will be open and you can ask the presidential candidate all of the questions you have for him. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us again. We're looking at the issues ahead of the 2019 general election, and I have here with me presidential candidate of the Providence People's Congress, PPC, Victor Hai. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about your party, the PPC. It's relatively new. What's the chance of such party winning a presidential election? The question of the mind of people is, do you have the structure? Do you have the finance? Will you be able to get agents in all of the polling units across the country? How prepared really is your party for this election?
Well, good question. It's a new party, no doubt about it. But what are our chances of winning a presidential election? Very bright, very, very bright. I can tell you that. The only way to know, you know, when people get up at times, and that's why I was, when people get up and they begin to talk about the chances of parties and all that, it's not the noise you make on television or social media. The easiest way to check it is to go to INEC and see how many candidates the party has across all over the country for the various positions. Because obviously, these are the people, these are the foot soldiers that are going to do the work down there. If you don't, where you don't have a candidate, then obviously there's a vacancy in that area. And I want to say that we're among the top 20, so that puts us out of 91 parties. So that puts us in a very good state. Secondly, about 49 or 53 parties are already lined up in CUPP behind one party, okay? And a few others are lining up behind the other major party. And then there are some who obviously, and so the number that is left is very little. Some are still undecided. At the end of the day, you might find that not more than 5 or 10 are actually running.
Right,
so we're going to have, yes,
Let me take
we
this
have
call
pretenders and contenders.
Very quickly, and I'll be back with you. Mazio Korafo is calling in from Abia. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, my brother. I'm listening from our people here in Abia State and to Victor, our presidential candidate.
Mazi, I say Mazi not as your name, but as a greeting.
Okay.
I'm one you say Alangwa. Mambo you say Alangwa.
Okay,
okay. Okay.
So, Victor, I want to find out from you.
Yes.
American President Donald Trump said at his roadmap that America first before any other thing.
Yes.
Now, as a presidential aspirant, what is your own roadmap? Looking at the scenario, what is happening today when Nigeria entered the office, it's now turned to family and friends.
No, I can tell you this, sir.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much for that question. It gives me an opportunity to talk about something that is really dear to my heart. I believe in the principle. Let me talk about this is at the heart of our party's ideology. There's what in African philosophy is called African ontological solidarity. In Southern Africa, in Swahili, they call it Ubuntu, where the life of one matters. You know, you have seen a situation here for it where everyone cares about one. You understand what I'm saying? No, everybody is very important. You find a situation here, for instance, where they say 50 people are killed, and then there's a counter. The government will now say, no, only 5 people were killed. And then the question is, 5 people were killed. Don't those 5 lives matter? Is this something we should be debating about? What if those 5 people, God forbid, I'm just saying as an example, where Otedola, Dangote, Elumelu, Jimovia, for instance, and name it, call any other name. You understand what I'm saying? Each of these people is a carrier of destiny. We don't have 2 lives. In the Bible, there's a principle where you say a good shepherd will leave 99 to go after one. And that's how Americans are. You know, they can send 1,000 soldiers to go after one. Now, when you find a situation where the country can put everything at its disposal to save your life, then you will feel proud to carry the flag of that country. And so for us, every single life matters. The common denominator for me as a person and as a party, you know, the PPC, is that every policy we make, will look after, the question is when you bring any proposal, the first question is, how does that affect the life of Iyasikira selling vegetables in Mile 12? I'm not interested in Dangote because you see, if he's okay, there's no guarantee that Iyasikira will be okay. But if your policy is targeted at favoring Iyasikira or Okonkwo, who is a bicycle repairer, there is every guarantee that if he's happy, happiness will be spread generally. And so for us, every life matters, and the common denominator is the man on the street.
Let's take this call quickly. Joshua is calling in from Iriwole, Ogun State. Merry Christmas, Joshua. Hello, Joshua, are you there?
Yes. I just want to ask a question. Presidential candidate, the presidency, which is the executive, being an arm of God, you have the legislatures, and then you have the judiciary. I want us to get practical. Now we have 3 arms of government.
Wow.
As you have to pay, you have to lobby and all this.
The network is really poor, but
budget that they are willing to pay.
I have an idea.
Their policy is true when they have an unfriendly assembly or an unfriendly legislature.
That's right.
And issue of corruption, please, they should tackle this thing. This is Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Joshua. So if you become president, your party is not likely
Not
going
if,
to...
when.
Well, if
When?
is what an anchor would say. You can say when, but I choose to say if.
That's okay.
If you emerge president, you're not likely going to have majority at the National Assembly. What he's asking is, how do you ensure that your policies are not frustrated? Because you will need the endorsement of the legislature.
Well, let me quote you when you started talking. One of my strongest points is my ability to, I'm a communicator.
Okay.
I'm a communicator. Like I often say, every war will end with jaw. But, you know, so why don't you get into dialogue from the beginning? Now, the problem we have is that, you know, there's a crutch. What we lean on as executive, you know, is that the fact that you have money, you think you can buy your way through, which is like what is happening now with many of our politicians. Instead of doing the right thing, they want to buy their way through election. And then the same thing too with when you're dealing with the National Assembly and all of that. If you're able to articulate your views effectively, not just to the legislature, but to the Nigerian people who put you in there, which is the beauty of the presidential system, the pressure will be very much on the legislature, because nobody would see something obviously good and want to frustrate it. And so it is important to communicate constantly with the electorate. The people that put you there in the first place, you're responsible to them, not even to the legislature. Communicate to them effectively, which is something that is lacking. Government, you know what they say in advertising, that doing business without advertising is like winking at a lady in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does. And so if you have fantastic programs and all of that, and the common man doesn't know about it, how can he put?
You know, there are some who would say, Mr. Hyde, that
Yes.
the Georgia should start now. Some Nigerians are concerned that we don't seem to have a credible thought force. That what is wrong in you know, Showore, Obieze-Kwesili, and the number of other people running for presidency to come together and form a formidable thought force that can stand a chance against the two big parties.
Well, I'll say this.
What are your
to you.
thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'll say this to you. First, there must be some sort of ideological concurrence. It's not just about, we can't be strange fellows coming together. There must be some ideological concurrence.
You
There
must have heard
a point of agreement.
You must have heard their own campaigns. You don't think that you guys have the same thing in mind?
I haven't been approached by anyone.
Okay.
And I haven't approached anyone. I'm running a destiny race. I've known about where I'm going for over 30 years. What I find is a lot of insincerity. Even when people come to talk about it, all they're saying is, when they say, okay, let's come together, all they're saying is, come behind me. You understand what I'm saying? If there was sincerity, you would understand. But there is selfishness. I don't think that people are necessarily thinking, and I don't think that people should necessarily come together only because they want to grab power.
Okay.
Because that's what happened with APC. And look at what happened now. After they grabbed power, they didn't know what to do with it. Now they're back to their tents.
Let's take our last caller on the show today. Good morning, Ifeanyi, calling in from Ajah.
Hello, good morning.
Go ahead with the
Good morning,
contribution.
Ifeanyi.
Okay. Good morning, your guest.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Ifeanyi. I'm calling from Lagos. I want to ask you this question because one thing I've observed in Nigeria is that, can you hear me?
Yes,
Very much so.
we can.
One thing I've observed in Nigeria is that it appears we don't have common identity. As in, for me, common identity, I mean, something that will actually make us to believe in.
Ifeanyi, are you there?
As in something that will make us to give back to Nigeria, hopefully. So, for you, what do you think are those identities that could make Nigerians to believe in Nigeria, and how you intend to actualize it?
I think you made your point very clearly, but what do you consider to be the unifying factor, the Nigerian dream that can bring all of us together?
That factor is me. I'll tell you why. Because in me, every Nigerian can see themselves. I'm a mirror. I am a reflection of Nigeria, whether of the north, of the east, of the west, of the south. But beyond that, you need a leader because you see, like, you've got to be able to look up to something or somebody, and that's where a visionary leadership comes in, which is something I'm going to provide. Because I have an understanding of what the times are, I have an understanding of the issues and of our people. I can then relate to everyone, and I can give Nigerians a sense of trust and belief. Because you see, what creates this sense of suspicion is where you find a tribal bigot or a religious, champion.
I'm afraid we have to go now,
No,
Mr. Hyde.
yeah, but let me just say this. In my family, for instance, I have a younger brother and a younger sister who are Muslims. This is tolerance. We're all there, we live together and all that. And I want to say this.
It's all right.
For Nigerians,
That's all
Okay.
time can permit
Okay,
us to
that's
take
fine.
now. I'm sure that you have some other time to have this
yes.
discussion here.
Time is never enough.
I wish you all the best.
Thank you
Victor
very
Hyde is
much.
the presidential candidate of the Providence People's Congress,
PPC.
PPC, one of the 72 or 73 other candidates who want President Buhari's job. As we celebrate Christmas today, remember to exchange gifts. Remember that there are quite a number of people out there who need you. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again tomorrow.